Good day. This would be our discussion about non-Mendelian mode of inheritance in your Module 3.2. Lesson 1. Lesson 1 talks about the several mode of inheritance under non-Mendelian. Now, in order for us to better understand these topics, let us unlock some terms. And I know that some of the words you have already encountered this one during your grade 8. So let's start with the term gene. So gene is simply defined as a specific segment of DNA wherein it serves as a functional unit of inheritance which controls the transmission and expression of the traits. This gene is defined like that because we all know that this gene is a basic physical unit of inheritance. Why? Because these genes are being passed on from your parents to you and to your offspring. This gene contains important informations or code that is needed by the traits to be expressed. So this gene is represented by the letters as their symbols. Now, some of these letters are used as their first or their last letter of the word. Now, for height, we can code this gene as letter T. So as you can see, the letter T here is at the last letter of your word. Now, next term. So we have your alleles. When we talk about alleles, it refers to a two or more alternate forms of a specific gene or a version of genes. This pair of genes, in order for us to have a pair of genes, an individual inherits these genes from their parents, one from the father, one from the mother. That's why we have a pair. Now, this pair of genes can be found in the same locus or specific location in your chromosome. Since we are coding the genes, okay, for height as T, now for alleles, okay, for capital T, that means this gene is for tall genes. Okay, and then if it is small t or written as a small t, then that means this gene is described or coded for a dwarf or short plant. Okay, that is according to Mendel's work. Okay, next, we have two types of genes. One is dominant and then the other one is recessive. A dominant gene is always expressed in a cross. Okay, so your dominant gene is written in a capital letter or uppercase letter to symbolizes it for being a dominant gene. While your recessive, this recessive gene is also known as the weaker gene compared to your dominant. Now, so this recessive gene is not expressed in a cross if there would be a presence of a dominant gene. Ma'am, is it possible for a recessive gene to be expressed? Yes, but take note that it should be paired with another recessive gene for it to be expressed. If this recessive gene or this weaker gene will be paired with the dominant gene, then that means it cannot be expressed. The one who will be expressed would be the trait or the gene under your dominant. Okay, if your dominant gene is written in uppercase letter or capital letter, this recessive gene is written in a small letters or lowercase letters. Okay, genotype. When we talk about genotype, it refers to the genetic makeup of an organism wherein we said that an allele is a pair of gene. Those combination of gene, that is what we call the genotype. Why? Kasi this genotype is the one who are coding for a specific trait. Okay, so example, for height, you have 3. A while ago, you have 2. We said that if it is capital T, then that means this one is for tall. And then if it is small letters, then that means it would be for short. Now, since we are talking about genotype, this one is a pair of gene or an allele. So we have here a combination of gene. One from your father and then one from your mother. Since we have capital letters here, then that means this makes a gene combination of a dominant. While here, you have a dominant and recessive, and then this one, we have a combination of two recessive gene. So, two dominant gene, one dominant, one recessive, and then we have two recessive genes. Okay, so those are the codes. Now, for that code, we are actually describing that code. So when we talk about phenotype, it is the one who describe the expression of that gene combination. When we talk about phenotype, we are merely using our eyes to see and to describe the physical attributes or physical appearance of a certain organism. So those physical appearances or observable expression depends on the genetic makeup or genotypes or the combination of genes present in a certain organism. Okay, for example, we have here a genotype of two capital letters. So that means this one is dominant. And we say that dominant or capital T is expressed as tall. Since we have two dominant or combination of two capital letters, then that means this one expressed as tall. Tall plant, tall flower, and the likes. If it is you have two small letters, then that means the expression would be under recessive. So in here, as you can see, the trait for recessive gene can be expressed. Okay, so if you have two small letters or combination of genes, then that means this one codes for a short height. Now, as you can see here, meron pa tayong isang combination ng isang dominant and then the other one is for recessive. Now, from here, so sabi natin kanina, if a recessive gene is paired with the dominant gene, the expression will always be on your dominant gene. So, since we have capital T here, we could simply describe this one as a tall plant, tall flower, and the likes. Hey, do you understand? Hey, I hope you are refreshed about these terminologies. Now, homozygous. So we have two types of genotype, homozygous and heterozygous. When we talk about homozygous, these are pair of genes wherein they are identical, parehas, similar, walang pagkakaiba. So those are homozygous genes. Now, this homozygous gene is also called as pure gene pairs. Okay, so an example of this would be, so here, capital P. So that means we could say that since this one is capital, this one is capital, we could say that this one is a homozygous or pure. Pure what? Pure dominant or homozygous dominant. Okay. While in here, identical pa rin sila because we have one small letter and then paired with another small letter. So, identical, they are similar, homozygous. It is pure. Pure what? So, this time, since small letter to, pure recessive or homozygous recessive. Now, when we talk about heterozygous, this is a pair of genes having different genes. Okay, meaning to say, one is dominant and then the other one would be recessive. So, this heterozygous is also known as a hybrid. If this one is pure, this one is hybrid. So, homo-hetero. So, what's in? So, in your lesson 1, under Mendelian principle of inheritance, in order for us to say that that is under Mendelian principle of inheritance, dapat, okay, the traits are represented by dominant and recessive. So this follows a law of dominance because that is the principle under Mendelia. So dominant allele will always be expressed in a recessive, in a cross, Okay, and take note that in order for us to have an accurate probability or prediction of the possible offspring of the two parents, we are using the Punnett square. Okay, so I know you already have an idea what is the how to use, okay? How to use the Punnett square. So let's start. So this one is under Mendelian mode of inheritance. So for example, you were asked to cross, okay, a pure tall plant and a pure dwarf plant. If that would be the first trait that would be crossed together, then that means this one is what we call parental generation. Parental one generation. Kumbaga, sa atin, these are your grandparents. These are your lolos and lolas. Sila yung pinaka nasa taas. So, when we code this one, so you already know how to write pure or homozygous, and then you know already how or the code for tall and short. So we will be using here pure. So that means dapat parehas. It should be similar. Since tall ito, we have two capital T. If it is pure ulit, so that it should be what? It should be similar. What? Similar letter of a dwarf plant. And we say that a dwarf plant is coded for short T. So that means we should have two small t's here. Now, this one is what we call your Punnett square. Now, we simply write or put your tall plant here on the left side, and then this one on the upper part of the Punnett square. So, like that. Now, since we are looking for the accurate possible probability of the offspring, we are now using the process of a Punnett square. So, combination lang naman. So, for the first one or for the first box, we simply have combination of capital T and a small t. For this one, we have capital T, small t, then the other capital T, small t, and then on the last box, we have capital T and small t. Now, so these are the genes, okay, coded from the parents. Nung krinos natin yung pure tall and pure dwarf, ito yung naging offspring nila. So, ano yung mga possible or yung mga gene combination na present? So, how many gene combinations do we have? We have 4, right? Pero, are they similar or different from one another? So, they are all the same. That's why, for our genotype, we simply have one gene combination. That is a capital T and small t. Since there would be, so how many? Okay, how many capital T and small t gene combination is present on your Punnett square? So let's count. So you have 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's why we have 4 is to 0. Saan galing yung 0 man? So since we have here 2 types of a combination of genes, that's why you have here 4 is to 0. So ano bang ibig sabihin ng 4 is to 0? So, sabi natin nung grade 8 kayo, 1 square is equivalent to 25% probability of the offspring. So, since we have 4, then that means we could say that this one is a 100%. 100% what? Now, we should describe this one using our genotype. Is it pure? Is it homozygous? Or is it hetero or hybrid? Since you have a capital and small, dominant and recessive, so we could not say that this is pure, but this one is hetero or a hybrid tall. Since we have a dominant gene for tallness, then that means the expression would be tall. So 4 is to 0, simply described as 100% hybrid tall. Okay, for phenotype. So sabi natin tall and short. since there would be a dominant gene here, all of these offspring will be tall. Ilan yung tall? So we have 4:0 when we describe 100% tall. Okay, so this gene combination is what we call the F1 generations. Kumbaga, kung sila lolo at lola yung P1 generations ninyo, these are the parents, your parents. If you are asked, okay, to cross two F1 generations here, or the parents, it becomes parental 2 generation. So since this one is unlike gene, okay, that means this one is what we call a hybrid tall plant crossed with another hybrid tall plant. So you already know the combination. So you have capital and small. Then we simply write here the two combination of genes, or the alleles. And then we get the combination of genes. So for the first one, you have two capital T's. The second one, you have capital T. Then you have small t here, capital T, and small t, kung saan sila magi-intersect. Okay, so this one, small t, and then this one would be small t ulit. Okay, again ha, saan sila nag-intersect? Capital T, so ito yan. Another capital T, ito siya. Next, capital T dito, small t here. In here, capital T, so ito yon, presence niyan. And then we have your small t here. Pagdating doon sa last box, small t, then we have small t here. Now, question. Are these offspring the same as this offspring? So the answer is no. How many gene combinations are present? So we have 3. What are those? Dalawang capital T, isang capital T, isang small t, and then we have here 2 small t's, or short lower cases of t's. Now, ilang beses lumabas yung capital T? So, you have 1. So, we have to count kung ilang beses lumabas yung genotype. That's why it is called genotypic ratio. So, how about yung capital T and small t? So, you have 1, 2. That's why you have 2 here. Now, ilang beses lumabas naman yung dalawang small t? So, we have 1. That's why the ratio would be 1:2:1. Can we consider that all of them are tall? No. Why, ma'am? Because we have different gene combinations here. So, for your genotype or genotypic ratio, we are describing them as a pure. It's either pure or hybrid, homozygous or hetero. So, since again, one box is equivalent to 25%. So, that means this one here, ano yung 1? So, you have 2 capital T's here. We could say that this one is 25% pure, kasi parehas, capital, dominant. So, you have 25% pure, dominant, tall. This one is 50% dahil magkaiba, hybrid, tall. While in here, you have 2 short or small letters. So, you have 2 pure recessive short. Do you get it? Okay. Now, for phenotype, is it 3, ma'am? Now, you have to look for the description. Now, how many genes are present? So, sabi natin there are 3 possible combination of genes. Pure tall, hybrid tall, and pure short. So, from that description, malalaman mo na kung ano yung phenotype na pwede mong ilagay. So, you simply have tall and short. Ilan yung may tall na dominant? So, let's count. 1, 2, 3. So, you have 3 tall. Ilan yung short? You have 1. That's why the phenotypic ratio is 3:1. When we describe, so 3 times 25, you have 75% tall, then 25% short to make it 100%. So, ngayon, itong offspring na to, This one is what we call your F2 generations. Yan kayo. So, I hope na na-refresh yung memories ninyo about Mendelian mode of inheritance. So, for our discussion, in your grade 9, which is all about the non-Mendelian, it is somewhat different from Mendelian. So, how do we say that that inheritance or mode of inheritance is under non-Mendelian? If the inherited traits do not follow Mendelian principles of heredity, wherein there should be a presence of a dominant and recessive gene. So, nawawala yung dominant at saka yung recessive. Okay. So, sabi nga natin, not all traits should follow Mendel's dominant and recessive kasi hindi na nga siya nasusunod sa non-Mendelian. Now, in order for this mode of inheritance to be possible, we should acknowledge these two scientists because they are the ones who studied and discovered the different evidence or the best evidence that that these traits or inherited traits from the parents were determined by the chromosomes. So si Seton and Boveri, they do not know each other. They work independently. But their studies joined or compatible, nag-meet sa isa't isa. Okay. So there are many ways, according to them, and according to their studies, there are many ways, numerous ways of inheriting traits aside from Mendel's law of inheritance. Kasi yung gawa ni Mendel or the work of Mendel was not able to explain the heredity or the mode of inheritance in a cellular level because Mendel's work or Mendel's mode of inheritance is most likely used uh, he used pea plants and observed the traits of the pea plants using its physical appearance, unlike ni Sutton and ni Boveri. That's why they become popular. Okay, so ano-ano ba yung mga non-Mendelian pattern of inheritance? So we have incomplete dominance, we have codominance, we have multiple alleles, and then this sex-related inheritance. So si sex-related, under your sex-related inheritance, meron pa tayong three specific specific mode of inheritance under sex-limited, influence, and then we have linked traits. Okay, so first off, let us have the incomplete dominance. So for example, you are asked to cross a red flowered plant from a white flowered plant. So as you can see here, kung kay Mendelian kanina, dapat meron ng isang capital, isang small. Kasi may dominant and recessive. Since this one is non-Mendelian, hindi niya pina-follow yung dominant at hindi niya pina-follow yung recessive. That's why we have here for red, we can write here a code for capital R, while for your white flowered plant, we code this one as 2 capital letter W. So, ano ba yung incomplete dominance? So, incomplete dominance occur when both alleles contribute to the trait. That is not like either of the parents. Meaning to say, parehas silang nag-contribute doon sa offspring. Lahat naman. Pero this time, when you look at the offspring, hindi siya parehas doon sa parents. That is incomplete dominance. May nabuo kang bagong trait. And that is what we call intermediate trait. Okay? A trait or a new trait that is different from the parent, intermediate trait. Yun. So, kung si parent ay red at white at lumabas ay pink, ang tawag dito ay intermediate trait. So, what happened? What happened to this genes? So, they simply blend to one another kasi equal yung distribution nung pinaka-genes sa kanila. So, walang mas marami, walang mas kaunti. So, they only blend to one another. That's why nakapag-produce tayo ng bagong trait or intermediate trait. So, yan yung incomplete dominance. So, this condition is only seen in a heterozygous individual. Siyempre, kapag ang code mo is RR, then that means this codes for red. Pag WW, then this codes for white. Pero this one, hybrid siya. Bakit? Kasi isang R, isang W. These two are pure. Parehas na red, parehas na white. So, walang nag-blend dito. Dito, nagkaroon ng blended or blending of colors. Okay. So, when we find the genotype here, so sabi nga natin RW, you have here RW here. Okay? So, ilang RW yung lumabas? 4. 4 is to 0. Nung tinignan natin kung ano yung nag-blend, ang lumabas na kulay ay pink. That's why the phenotype is pink. Ilang beses na lumabas yung pink? So, we have 4 is to 0. Take note, kagaya ng binanggit natin kanina, since each allele is equally expressed, for it to result in a blended product, and there is no dominance in this cross, then that means whatever your phenotypic ratio, that would be similar or identical to your genotype. That's why 4 is to 0, you have 4 is to 0. Kasi wala namang dominant at recessive gene. Okay. Next, if you are asked, okay, to cross two pink flowered plants from the F1 generation. So, sabi natin, kaya ng halamang mag-self-fertilize. Is the offspring the same with the F1 generations of offspring? So, let us see. So, in here, kanina, we are using RW. So, ito, nilagyan nila ng C. Then, they put these letters doon sa upper or as superscript. That is okay. Okay, as long as nandoon yung code for that color. Okay. So, since pink flowered plant ang pinag-uusapan, we have the combination of red and white cross with another red and white. Okay. So, nung nag-cross, so you have R, that's why you have here, first genotype. In here, we have R, ito yan. We have W, so since there would be a combination of two colors, it becomes pink. So this becomes a hybrid. This one, R, then we have W, so combination of two different genes. This one is a hybrid, that's why it's pink. And then this one, we have WW, so this one is pure kasi pareha sila ng gene. So what are the genotypes? So you have your RR, you have RW, and then you have WW. So when we get their genotypic ratio, we simply have 1 is to 2 is to 1. Okay, so that means red, pink, and white. Phenotypic ratio, 1 is to 2 is to 1. 1 as your RR, RW as your 2, WW as 1. So isang red, dalawang pink, isang white. Dahil wala ngang dominant at equally expressed, yung genotypic ratio is the same as the phenotypic ratio. Is it understood? So if there would be a blending of the traits, incomplete dominance. Kasi nakakapag-produce ka ng panibagong trait which is known as intermediate trait. Okay. Next one, codominance. From the word itself, dominance. So that means there is a presence of dominant gene. But we have the word co. So how does this codominance different from this incomplete dominance? Okay, so sabi natin, codominance is the direct violation of law of dominance. Why? Kasi two dominant genes are expressed at the same time. So meaning to say, we could say that this white fur cattle is a dominant gene, and then this red fur cattle is another dominant gene. When both of them are crossed together, they produce roan fur cattle. Meaning to say, both of the white and the red genes can be seen in one species or one organism. That's why it's called roan. Ma'am, are there information of intermediate trait? No. Walang formation ng intermediate trait. Walang bagong trait na nabuo. Bakit? Kasi parehas silang lumabas. Ito yung puti, ito yung red. Unlike yung incomplete dominance, yung red at saka white, ang lumabas pink. So, nag-blend. Dito, walang blend na nangyari or blending na nangyari. Parehas lumabas. Okay? So, both rays appear in the heterozygous individual at the same time. So, hybrid pa rin ang tawag. Pag dalawang parehas na W, then that means this one is for pure white. And then, pag parehas na R, then that means that is for pure red. Okay, example. So, gray horses has a code of GG, which is codominant to white horses, which is code for WW. When we cross these two, the hybrid offspring is called Appaloosa. So, Appaloosa is coded as GW. White horse with gray spots. If you are asked to cross a white horse with an Appaloosa, what are their possible offspring? So let us write first their code. So white horse is pure, that's why we write here WW, while Appaloosa, since Appaloosa is a hybrid, so we call this one as GW. G for gray, W is for white. So we simply write the alleles. This one is for white, this one is for Appaloosa. So, what are the gene combination for the first box? So, we simply have GW here and here. So, what would be the possible combination? So, we have GW. In here, you have WW. And then for the last box, we have WW. So, those are the gene combination. So, how many? We only have two. Isang GW, then the other one is WW. So how many times that this combination GW is expressed? So we simply have 1 and 2. That's why you have 2. How about your WW? So you simply have 1, 2. That's why you have 2 here. So the genotypic ratio is 2:2. What does it mean? 50% hybrid Appaloosa because there is a combination of gray and white. Okay. While the other 2 or the other 50% is for pure white. Why pure? Kasi parehas W here. Okay, when we describe, okay, so you have your Appaloosa horse, and then we have a white horse. Again, since there would be two dominant genes equally expressed, okay, in a breed or in a cross, then that means there would be two Appaloosa to white horse. So 50% Appaloosa, 50% white. Do you understand? So that is codominance. Parehas na na-express. Both of the traits are expressed or both of the genes are expressed in one organism. Unlike no incomplete, may nagbe-blend, may formation of trait. Okay. So you can now answer your activities under your lesson 1. We belong pages 7 to 8, wherein you simply identify the following set of the pictures or illustration, whether it is incomplete or codominant. So again, when we say incomplete, there is a new trait that is formed. Pag sinabi natin codominance, parehas na lalabas. Lalagay nyo lang kung incomplete dominance or co-dominance. For your activity 2.2, it is entitled as Punnett square, which can be seen in your page 8, wherein you are asked to predict the possible offspring in the cross given by the parents in your module. So you just have to write the phenotype and the genotypic ratio or kung ano man yung pinapahanap sa inyo. Okay, so that is indicated in your module. Okay, next. Non-Mendelian mode of inheritance, this time multiple alleles. Okay, so let us continue, Multiple alleles, from the word itself, multiple. Okay, this mode of inheritance wherein more than 2 alleles control the inheritance of the character. Okay, so the best example of these are our blood type. So these are different formations of the alleles. So meron kang blood type A, B, AB, and O. So we have multiple alleles here. Now, take note that even though there are different alleles for a certain cross or a certain inheritance or which controls the inheritance, kapag nag-cross tayo, palagi lang dalawa yung present per individual at a time. Okay? So, hindi pwedeng lumabas na yung isa A, yung isa B, yung isa O, yung isa AB. No. If the blood type of your father is A, so we could use A. That is the first allele. If the mother has a blood type B, then yun yung second allele. So hindi pwedeng magkaroon ng A, B, or O dun sa dalawang parent kung ang blood type nila ay A or B lang. Do you understand? Okay. Next. So multiple alleles. So as you can see here, allele A and B are dominant alleles. So if both of them are dominant, we could say, or is it possible for us to have a blood type AB? Yes. So si blood type A at blood type B, pag parehas yung pure at nag-produce ng AB, we could say that pwede silang under ng co-dominant kasi parehas silang dominant gene. Okay. So the weaker allele that we have under your blood type is O. Pero, ang mapapansin nyo, kadalasan, pag tinanong mo yung classmate mo, ang sasabihin niya sa'yo ay blood type mo siya. Since kahit na recessive ang allele natin. Okay. So, paano ba natin malalaman na blood type A, blood type B, blood type AB ka, or blood type O ka? Okay. So, it depends on the antigen that is present on the RBC. If antigen A is present in your RBC, then that means you are blood type A. Kapag si antigen B naman yung nasa blood type, nasa labas, si B nasa loob, si A nasa labas, blood type B ka. Pag parehas na antigen A and B yung nasa loob ng RBC mo, then that means blood type mo ay AB. Pag parehas wala dito, nasa labas yung antigens na yon, then that means you are blood type O. Okay, so yun yung determination ng blood type mo. Okay, so let us have an example. If a man with homozygous blood type A, so recall lang tayo So we have your homozygous here, yung homozygous, then you have hetero. Pag sinabi mong homozygous, dapat parehas, dapat pure. So parehas A. Sa heterozygous, you have A, then there is a presence of I. So, yung I dito nagsisignify na meron kang blood type O. Gets? Ito parehas A, itong A, O. Next, homozygous, parehas na B. When we talk about heterozygous, isang dominant gene for B, then we have a recessive gene for O. Since dominant ito ay lalabas. Blood type B siya. Since dominant ang A kaysa sa O, then that means ang blood type mo ay A. If The genotype is A and B since parehas silang dominant, ang blood type mo ay AB. Walang magbe-blend, parehas lalabas, kagaya nito. Kapag naman parehas na small I, then that means this one is a blood type or code for blood type O. Since recessive siya at parehas na I yan, tsaka lang siya lalabas. Unlike dito, dahil parehas na may dominant trait, hindi lumabas or na-express yung blood type O. Do you understand? Okay. So, let us continue. If a man with a homozygous blood type A marries a woman with heterozygous blood type B, what are the possible blood types of their offspring? Homozygous type A. So, parehas na may A. So, we have, okay, IA. And nag-cross siya or na-marry siya kay woman with hybrid blood type B or heterozygous, meaning to say, magkaiba. Isang capital B at isang small I kasi hetero. So, isang blood type B, isang gene for O. That's why you have AB, then you have small I. So, sulat lang natin ulit. This one is for pure homozygous. This one is for heterozygous blood type B. Okay. So, unang offspring. So, we have IA, IB. Since parehas tong dominant, we have A, B. Next, A, then we have B. So, IA, IB. Next, we have IA, A, and then we have another IA, I. So, what are the gene combinations? We have IA, IB, then you have IA, and then we have O. So, ilang beses lumabas si AB? So, we have 2 here. Ilang beses lumabas yung IAI? So, dalawa rin. So, the genotypic ratio would be 2:2. Meaning to say, you have 50% pure AB, blood type AB, and then you have 50% hybrid A. Bakit naging hybrid? Kasi meron kang blood type A, meron kang blood type O. That's why you have hybrid. Phenotype. Yung blood type AB at saka A, since ang dominant gene ay A. So, ilan ng blood type AB? So, you have 2. And then, yung blood type A, we have 2. So, that means 50% ng anak nila ay AB. Then, 50% again, nung anak nila is blood type AB. So, do you understand? Okay, so let us continue. So, since you already have an idea on how to use this gene combination, you can now answer activity number 3 on your page 9, which is entitled Who's Who. So, sabi, in order for you to answer the questions, you have to show the possible process. So, take note that the blood type of a woman, since ang binanggit lang dyan is blood type A, it's either homozygous blood type A, which has a gene combination of IA-IA or heterozygous type A, since hetero to, isang IA, isang blood type O. So, that means there would be 2 possible process na masasagutan doon sa inyong module. Is it clear? Okay. So, let us continue. So, sex-related inheritance tayo. Kanina sabi natin, under sex-related, meron pa tayong tatlo or meron siyang specific na tatlong type ng mode of inheritance. So, in order for us to better understand, pag sinabi nating sex-related, may kinalaman siya sa sex chromosomes and sex determinations. So, last time, yung last nating topic, we said that we have 2 types of chromosomes under your DNA. So, we have 46 chromosomes or 23 pairs of chromosomes in a human cell. Okay. Half of it comes from your father and then the other half from your mother. So, sabi natin, sa 23 pairs na yun, yung 22 nun ay for autosomals or autosome, okay, wherein they are the one who carries the trait, and then the other pair or the last pair is for your sex chromosomes to determine whether you are a boy or you are a girl. Okay, so to make it 23. So these 46 chromosomes contains genes which are the factors of heredity. That's why pag tinignan mo yung kapatid mo at some point meron kang pagkakaparehas sa kanya. Okay, so take note that your X chromosomes is bigger than the Y chromosomes. Okay. Okay, is it clear? So let's continue. Alright, so in order for us to better understand this one, so this one is the chromosomes from your father, and then this one is the chromosomes from your mother. So 44, 45, 46, and then kay nanay, 44, 45, 46. Now, as you can see here, doon sa may last pair natin, this one is different from the last pair of our mother. So, si tatay, nag-end siya sa X and Y, while si nanay, nag-end siya sa dalawang X. So, in order for a certain offspring to become female, dapat yung last pair niya is XX. So, in order for a certain offspring to become a male, then that means yung last pair niya should be an XY. Now, dalawa yung kayang ibigay ni tatay. Dahil XY to, 22, then yung X, and then yung isa, 22 ulit, yung isa naman Y. Si nanay, so ito, dalawa yung naging set mo na pwedeng ibigay ni tatay. Kay nanay, isa lang. Bakit? Kasi 22X, 22X, so isa lang yung itsura. Parehas na X. Now, so as you can see, the one who determines the sex or the gender of the offspring para maging lalaki or maging babae. Si tatay ang nagko-contribute noon. That's why we should thank our father, right, for us. So, kailangan natin mag-thank you kay tatay kasi sila yung dahilan bakit nagkakaroon tayo ng kapatid na babae or kapatid na lalaki. Kasi kapag hindi nagbigay ng Y si tatay, ang kaya niyang ibigay na magiging tayo magiging babae. Kung ang binigay naman ni tatay ay Y, then that means ang magiging kapatid natin ay boy. So, when we write here, okay, the Punnett square between the father and the mother, so that means you have here 44 chromosomes kasi 22 plus 22 lang, 44. So, X, X. So, this one is a girl. Ganun din dito. 22, 22, you have 44. X, then you have X. Then again, another female. Pagdating dito, 22, 22, 44, you have X, then you have Y. That's why you have XY. And then dun sa isa rin, 22, 22, you have 44. Then we have X and Y. That's why nagkakaroon tayo ng kapatid na lalaki. So, maliwanag po ba yun? Do you understand? Okay, so again, ulitin natin. We should be thankful kay tatay kasi si tatay or si father ang nagko-control or nagdedetermine ng gender sa anak. Are we all clear? Alright, let's continue. So, since you already have an idea, okay, on our discussion for sex determination and sex related, you can now answer your activity number 4 on page 10. It's a boy, it's a girl. So we just have to determine how gametes formation involves in sex determination. Refer to the figure 4 that you have in your module, or you can refer to the figure a while ago yung dinascuss ko sa inyo, for you to be able to complete the sentences in your um, module. So again, if the father gives Y, chromosomes Y, the son, or rather the offspring, is a male. If the father gives an X chromosomes as the last pair for their sex chromosomes, then that means the offspring would be female. Simple as that. Okay, so sex-linked genes. We have here the specific mode of inheritance under sex-related. What do we mean by sex-linked genes? So there are two kinds of sex chromosomes. Ano natin yun? We have X and Y chromosomes. If the genes are located on your X chromosomes, kadalasan naman ganun. Ang tawag sa kanila ay X-linked genes. Unlike the other genes, which is located on your Y chromosomes, they are called Y-linked genes. Okay, paano nagkakaroon ng sex-linked traits? So, sex-linked traits determined by sex-linked genes, which are called sex-linked traits. Kadalasan, ang sex-linked traits are recessive. This means, para mag-express yung traits na yun, dapat parehas na may yung X chromosomes mo, may parehas na recessive gene. Okay. Kapag isa lang, kagaya nung kay tatay, you have your X and then your Y. Kapag ang nalagyan, kahit isa lang, which is your X, kasi isa lang naman siya, mag-e-express yun. Unlike kay nanay, kapag yung isa dominant, isa recessive, hindi siya mag-e-express. Kailangan parehas yung X na ma-express ng recessive. Itong kay tatay, kahit isa lang, or rather, isa lang naman kasi yung X chromosomes niya and then the Y, okay, meron siyang Y. So, dahil isa lang yung X niya, mag-e-express pa din yung genes na yun. Okay, so meron tayong iba't ibang klase ng traits. Pero kadalasan, ang sex-linked, recessive lang siya. Okay, for you have your X-linked recessive traits, meron kang red-green color blindness. So, nahihirapan yung isang tao na ma-determine yung kulay ng pula at saka green yung color blind nila. Yung isa, hemophilia. Pag sinabi natin hemophilia, these are persons or an individual that cannot produce a clotting factor or hindi makapag-clot ng blood kapag nasugatan. Okay. And then we have your anhidrotic ectodermal dysplasia. So that means hindi masyadong active yung sweat glands na kahit na tatalon yan at kung ano yung mga activities nila, yun yung mga tao na hindi talaga pinagpapawisan. So, medyo hindi maganda yun. And then we have your muscular dystrophy, yung crippling paralysis, and then retinitis pigmentosa. Okay. For the X-linked dominant traits, meron, pero dalawa lang naman. So, hypoplastic amelogenesis imperfecta, meaning to say, yung enamels na sa ngipin, medyo manipis, yung madaling nasisira. And then we have your hypophosphatemia, or blood phosphate deficiency. Okay. Doon sa Y-linked traits naman, ito yung known as Hollandric traits. Okay? So, testis determining factor SRY at saka yung nag-lead sa male infertility. And then yung isa, yung hypertrichosis female, meaning to say, may makikita kayo mga lalaki na parang may buhok sa tenga, yun. So, kapag si tatay may ganun, automatic, possible na yung mga anak na magkaroon din parang buhok sa tenga. Okay. So, red-green color blindness. So, cannot distinguish red from green. So, when you look at the screen, okay, kung normal person ka, may makikita kang number dito, which is number 45. So, you have your 4, then you have 5. Pag green color blind ka, red green color blind ka, ito lang may makikita mo. So, never nagre-register doon sa retina mo yung color na red tsaka blue. Kaya nga color blindness. Pero the other colors, nakikita niyo naman po. Okay. So, may tanong. So, kanina, sabi natin, para ma-express yung sex-linked traits, which is recessive, dapat yung dalawang X sa babae, lumabas yung recessive. Okay, sa lalaki, basta kahit isa lang na recessive lumabas, mag-express siya. Ma'am, anong mangyayari doon sa may isa lang yung na-express na recessive gene? So, ang mangyayari, normal siya. Pero, carrier ang tawag sa kanya. Pag sinabi natin carrier, normal yung trait na nasa iyo. Pero, once na magkaroon ka ng anak, okay, yung trait na meron na ipasa sa'yo ng magulang mo, pwedeng mapunta yun sa anak mo. Kaya nga minsan sasabihin mo, hindi naman ako, normal naman ako, bakit sa kanya lumabas yun? Kasi carrier ka or carrier si nanay. Okay. So, for example, a colorblind male marries a normal female. Okay. What are the offspring and genotypes and the phenotypes? So, dito, sinabi natin na or dinescribe natin si girl na normal. So, hindi siya carrier. So, colorblind male. So, we could write here, dahil lalaki siya, XY. Dahil colorblind, recessive, small letter lang. So, X, small c, then Y. Dahil normal female, parehas capital C. So, sulat lang natin. Okay. So, for the first combination here, so we simply have capital C and small c in here. Dahil capital C ito ay wala naman. So, you have Y. Okay. In here, we have capital C, small c. Then, we have capital C here since we have here, and then we have Y. So, ano yung mga possible genotype ng offspring nila? So, isang capital C, small c. Then, we have a capital C. Ilang beses lumabas yun? So, you have 1, 2. That's why you have 2 here. How about your capital C for your male? Ano? Today. So, ang tawag dito, 100% dahil magkaiba to, hybrid ang tawag natin sa kanya ay carrier normal female. Bakit normal, ma'am? Kasi may gene ka for normal. Carrier ka kasi meron kang dala-dala na pang colorblind. That's why it is called carrier normal female. So, si lalaki, dahil capital yung sino dito, 100% na normal na lalaki yung mapapanganak mo or nila. Okay. But when we describe these two, we have normal female and normal male. Bakit? Kasi carrier lang naman si babae. So, phenotypic ratio, dalawang normal na babae, dalawang normal na lalaki. So, that means both of them have 100% normal male and normal female. So, sex-linked genes. Okay. So, since you already have an idea, I want you to answer your activity number 5 that can be seen on page 12, which is entitled Love's Blind, wherein sabi, you have to read the comment strip below. Yun yung direction sa may module ninyo. And then, answer the questions at the end of the story. So, I guess you have to predict. You're the one who predict kung ano ba yung magiging anak ni babae at saka ni lalaki. Okay. Next, sex-limited traits. So, from the word itself, limited, yung isa, link. Kasi may kinalaman doon sa presence ng genes sa chromosomes. Ito naman limited. So, yung sex-limited traits are generally autosomal. So, hindi siya nakakabit doon sa huli. So, nandoon siya sa 22 pairs. Okay. So, kaya nga siya limited kasi isa lang yung gender na pwedeng mag-express yung trait na yon. So take note that genes are carried by both males and females. So pareha silang may gene, pero isa lang yung pwedeng mag-express, no? Example, genes that influence how much milk lactating mother produces when she is nursing a baby. Sino lang ba yung nagpapa-breastfeed? Si nanay. Pero, both of the parents, si nanay at si tatay, meron silang lactating gene. Ay, pero mas madalas na ang nag-e-express ng lactating gene ay si nanay. Kaya nga minsan nababalitaan nyo, may tatay na nagpapa-breastfeed ng baby kasi both of the genes are present there. So it is possible. Pero mas madalas na na-express ang lactating doon kay nanay. So I have an example here. So kung mapapansin nyo dito sa Drosophila or sa fruit flies, we have here two genders. This one is a female and this one is a male. So, paano natin madidistinguish na this one is a female and this one is a male? So, when you look here, mas malaki si female kaysa kay lalaki. Ganun din dito. When we talk about the build of the chickens, mas malaki yung hen kaysa sa rooster. Ganun din sa babae. Sa human, mas malaki ito, mas malaki ang balakang ng babae compared doon sa lalaki. Why? Kasi kadalasan, o hindi kadalasan, si babae ang nagdadala ng offspring. That's why it is decided that mas malaki dapat ang mga balakang ng mga babae compared sa lalaki. Okay, so in here, mayroon din pagkakaiba pagdating sa mga lions. So si lioness, wala silang buhok. While may fur, pero hindi kasing lago nung kay lalaki. Bakit? Kasi sabi natin, lions are considered as king of the jungle. Okay, so yung pinaka-hair or yung parang crown dito nung mga lion, nagsiserve siya as crown. Kaya siya tinawag na king. Mentras na dark yung pinaka-color niya, mas kinatatakutan siya or mas karapat dapat siya as king according to some studies. Okay, so this one, ito naman yung sa shark. Okay, para kung gusto nyong malaman na lalaki yung pating na makikita mo, bukod sa maliit siya, yung claspers niya dito mas mahaba compared doon sa claspers ng babae. Okay? Sex influence traits naman tayo. So, sa sex influence traits, these are traits that both of the genders are expressed. Pero, mas frequent dun sa isa. Okay, kung yung limited mo, parehas silang may gene, pero isa lang yung nagpo-produce dito sa influence, parehas may genes, parehas express. Pero mas frequent lang doon sa isa. For example, baldness, yung pagkapanot or pagkakalbo. Pwede mo siyang ma-express sa female, pwede rin siya mag-occur sa male. Pero kadalasan, ang mga panot or mga kalbo, kadalasan, ang nagkikerry nun would be si lalaki. Ma'am, possible po ba si girl? Yes. Right? So, I have here genotypes for baldness. So, kapag capital B, bald siya, capital B, small b, so heterozygous to, pero bald pa rin. And then, kapag recessive naman, male non-bald. So, that means the genotype for baldness is dominant. So, sa babae, ganun. Ganun din. Dapat meron siyang dominant gene for baldness para mag-occur. Okay? So, pero this time, we have your B here. Okay, so we have female non-bald and then we have here female non-bald. Or rather, ang baldness pala ay recessive. So, recessive pala yung trait na yun. So, do you have any questions? So, again, sex link may kinalaman sa sex chromosomes na yung traits na dala-dala niya. Kaya pag sinabi natin sex limited, parehas may genes, pero isa lang yung nag-e-express. Pag sinabi natin sex influence, parehas may gene, parehas nag-e-express. So, I hope mas nakatulong at mas naiintindihan nyo yung lesson natin in your Module 3.2. So, you can now answer your assessment, pages 15 to 17. Okay? So, see you soon. Thank you and God bless.